Well, my
Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here, the Rosa String Works Man Cave. Clicked on the wrong thing there. I was reading one of the comments, and then I realized that the time ran out there, and I needed to switch over, and clicked on the wrong thing. That would be a slip of the mouse. Anyway, got a couple things to share with you, show and tell type stuff. I think you'll enjoy it. First of all, I'm still on the goofy pills, the pain pills. Again, they don't really make me feel goofy or anything. They just stop the pain, and they do make me sleepy and tired, though. I got a late start this morning because, well, I woke up like at 3, and I didn't go back to sleep till about 7:30, and then I slept till 9. So I didn't get outside until about 9 this morning, but I did still get a lot accomplished. I can still feel something in my kidney area, so I don't think it's passed yet, but it's nothing real painful. I mean, like, it's on a 1 to 10 scale, it's barely a 1. So the pain's pretty much gone, thank goodness for the medicine. Bo mentioned yesterday if I liked my knife sharpener, and here's what it is. It's a deal where I've seen these kind before. In fact, I think I had one years ago somewhere. But basically, you pull your knife blade through this, like this. And quite honestly, it doesn't sharpen anything. That's just the truth of it. It doesn't. What it does is it kind of curls the blade or thins the blade. It draws the blade out is really what it does. I mean, it's sort of a little bit of steel will come off of it a little bit. So it's in that sense, it is kind of sharpening it a little bit, I guess. But it actually, if you could see it under microscope, it's thinning that blade down, and it's even putting a little bit of a wiggle to the blade, a little bit of a serration type thing, and it'll actually curl the blade a little bit. But for stainless steel, I did some testing on it, and it does actually work. I mean, it actually does make the blade cut better. So from that standpoint, it definitely works. Now, don't think it will. I didn't really try it because I didn't want to try it on my high carbon steel, but I don't think it'll work on a high carbon steel, and mainly because high carbon doesn't bend, it don't flex. It's just is what it is. It's just pretty stiff, In fact, that's what probably well, I doubt it. I don't know. These might be high carbon steel discs. I'm not really sure about that, but anyway, I didn't even try it on the high carbon steel blade, but on the soft stainless steel blade, this definitely does work. I did a before and after test on a napkin, just to see if it would cut a napkin, and that stainless steel would not cut the napkin, but after I ran it on here a few times, it did cut the napkin. So thank you, Bo. It does work. We'll keep it there in the drawer with the other stainless steel knives, and whenever we need to brighten up the edge, we'll draw it across there. I sure appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. I do have a short video for you for what I did this morning. We might as well get to that.
Well, my friends, it's Wednesday morning, and here's the state of the affair in terms of shingles. This is what's been cut now for several months. These have been cut quite a while. These have been cut for maybe a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. So these are the newest ones. There's a lot of cull in this. In other words, you see a lot of them that are, split and stuff. So there's a lot of them that aren't really very good. You never know how much you can get out of them, and even these can be good. It just depends where they fit and how they fit. Over here are the blocks of wood that will become shingles. These have been setting for at least a month also, kind of drying, and that helps when I'm sawing them, I think. When they're real wet, they're kind of a pain to saw. I think they'll saw easier today, and hopefully we won't have much waste. I wanted to give you a before and after look of the pile here so you kind of get some relative idea. I'm not going to film making each shingle. Once again, if you're not familiar with how I make them, I have this artificial fence that I added to my regular fence, and this thing here slides on here. You can see there's an extra lip on this. You set your big block on that lip. That keeps it away from this fence. The other end of the block is against the fence, and so it starts sawing a wide thing, and then it comes to a thin thing, because this actually goes inside of there. Now, I don't have this set to the proper width yet. This is what I used to set the fence to the proper width. So I've got to loosen this up, slide it over, and set this to this width here. And I'm just about there. Just got to tap it a little bit. Tighten it down here and see if it's coming over. You got to get it pretty close. You don't want it real tight, and you don't want it real loose either, to make it work just right. See if that's it. That's probably just about right there. It's touching, but there's not much play in it. So that's how we set that. So again, the block sets on here, down to here, and then it slides through. It's cutting the thick shingle and cuts to nothing on this end. So there you go. That's how we do it. I'm going to make a whole bunch of shingles. It's going to take some time. Well, there you go, my friends. We stacked that up that high. It's higher than the older stack. How much will that cover? I don't know. I'm going to say half the roof. If I'm lucky, it'll cover half. I just have a feeling that won't even cover half with my luck. But everything's working great. That carbide tooth saw blade is still cutting very well. It's amazing that it's cut that many shingles. I mean, it's just unbelievable, because every cut is a rip. And hundreds of shingles, just hundreds and hundreds of them. That other side, you keep in mind, is probably at least twice this many on the other side that were cut, and maybe 3 times this many. I'm not really sure how far this will go. We will see. Might as well show you one more thing while I'm got the camera out. I finally took time and got the first oak log up on the sawmill. I did this a few days ago, actually probably over a week ago. It's just been sitting here waiting on me. Well, early in the morning, if I feel well and can wake up in time and everything, probably tomorrow morning early, I'll put the new carbide blade on here and saw this big oak log. That's a pretty good sized log there. That's bigger than any of the cedars I've sawn. I don't know, I didn't measure it, but I'm going to say 14 inches, more than 12 inches in diameter. That's the small end. For sure it's good size. But oak is much, much, much harder to saw, and that's why I ordered that carbide blade. We're going to hopefully see that it makes a difference. And hopefully my little very low power sawmill has enough power to saw that oak. I have sawed a lot of oak on the sawmill before, to be fair, but it's always been very marginal. I'm hoping this will make a big difference.
Yeah, that oak is tough to saw. I have JR sawed oak, and that's how he built that one shed up on top of his hill where he keeps his ponies and stuff. He made all that oak off of my sawmill, but oak is way different than sawing the cedar. Cedar saw is almost like butter. The oak is, it's like trying to saw through concrete almost, by comparison, Anyway, I think that it'll be the first time I've ever tried a carbide blade on the sawmill, and I think that's going to make a big difference. And I've got the sawmill tweaked so much better than it used to be. When I first built it, it was pretty good and it worked, but I've tweaked it so many ways and done so many improvements on it over the last several years that it's up in pretty good shape now to tackle that job. I'm hoping it'll do it. I need to get back working on my excavator. I've got it tore completely apart. I'd like to get that. I've got all the parts in now. Well, I shouldn't say all the parts. What I mean is I've got all the parts that I ordered specifically for the upgrades are in, but I'll have to make all new hoses. All the hoses, and that's where the work is. It's figuring out all the adapters and hoses and fittings. That's the hard part. The actual, if somebody could just snap their fingers and go, here's your hoses, I could have the whole thing back together and working by the end of the day. No problem. But that's not reality when it comes to those hoses and all the fittings and all that. It takes forever. That's where all the work is trying to figure out all those different conversions, because, the hydraulic shops around here don't have the threads that excavator comes with. So I'll probably have to make some of the adapters on my metal lathe. It's just not easy being me. Anyway, so there you go. The other thing is that's going to take up some time for today is I've got another package that I've got to get all figured out and put together and shipped for Comita Systems for my Italian friend that it just came in yesterday. So I'll have to get on that and get that out this afternoon. So that's going to eat up most of the afternoon, just getting that ready and getting that going. Shipping is not as easy as it should be. It's just not simple. Yeah. And if I find 2 more minutes of spare time, I could work on the auction, or I could work on putting out more videos. There's so much to do. It's just unbelievable. I need to be 3 or 4 people, and we would all 3 or 4 be very busy. Joe Nigan was the first one in today. He says, hello, everybody. And Ronald Todd says, good afternoon from the West Bank of New Jersey. Rod Wentler says, hi, Jerry. I'd say que pasa right now, but that might be a sore subject. Que pasa. Oh, no, it didn't pass, if that's what you're talking about. Que pasa. Let's see. B.H. Ringer says, good afternoon from Nova Scotia. Bill Rhodes, good afternoon. Let's see. Dottie Hildebrandt is praying for everybody. Thank you, Dottie. And moving on down, Bo Horn says, y'all thankful to get a little rain shower today in Ruston, Louisiana. Yeah, I tell you, the rain has, we've definitely done well with rain here on the farm this year. It's probably been our best year ever for rain. And wouldn't you know, probably had our best hay crop ever. And somehow or another, the hay is not getting cut and not getting put away. It's sad. All my equipment is gone. JR traded it all in and took it and bought new equipment and stuff, and with the promise that he would cut the hay and do all that, but I don't see any results on that regard. Brad Tomatak, after we went live, says, hello, Jerry and friends. Thanks for clarifying about the type of shingles in the title, Jerry. We don't need more worries on our lives. Yeah. Let's see. Don Nice. Hi, Jerry and friends. We want to pray for those people in Texas. Boy, isn't it the truth? I can't even imagine what they're all going through. I get to thinking, poor old me with this kidney stone. I mean, that's nothing compared to what these folks are going through. Terrible. Just absolutely horrible. David Tharp. Howdy, everybody. Old age comes at the most inconvenient time. Just when I gain the knowledge to know everything I need to know, I start forgetting everything. That is the truth on that. Bill Mumbo, been watching the Women's European Football Championship. England won 4-0. Yay. Cool. And the football, I'm sure you're referring to what we call soccer, so that's cool. Ronald Todd, those types of sharpeners just straighten out the burr for a while. Well, actually, in my opinion, they create a burr. That's what they feel like they're doing. They're creating a burr. It's almost like a serrated edge. It's even a little bit intermittent. It's almost like a serrated edge. I mean, it's almost like a saw, but it does cut better. It definitely does cut better. And for the record, my blade that I made out of the high carbon steel, I haven't sharpened it since, and it's still cutting through the sausage package perfectly this morning. I guarantee you, whether you think I enhanced it for the video or not, and I did not, the stainless steel wouldn't cut through the package as you saw in the video the second day. And I'm still cutting through the package with the high carbon steel. There's no comparison. There's no comparison. And for those of you who have never used high carbon steel for a knife blade, you do not know what you're missing. It's completely different. Completely different. It's not even similar. So that's why I've done what I've done, even though people go, yeah, that's really stupid. It wastes all that time making that knife blade. I've had those kinds of comments on different knife blades I've made over the years. And it's not stupid to me, because it's just like any other tool. If you've got a saw and it don't saw, it ain't no good. If you got a knife and it don't cut, it ain't no good. Period. That's just the way I look at it. And so to me, a tool has to do what the tool's supposed to do before it's worth a darn. And now it is worth a darn. That knife in there cuts like butter, man. Let's see. Bruce Ducker, right? Yeah, okay. He's chiming in there with Ronald Todd. Ronald Todd, why do you need new hoses for the minis? They're brand new. Well, I'm adding all kinds of things. I'm adding in a hydraulic oil cooler. That's the reason I took the excavator apart, is to add a hydraulic oil cooler in there. I'm also adding fans, but that's more of an electrical issue. But I'm also adding a hydraulic oil filter, and I'm also adding a hydraulic inline cushion valve, is the proper name for it. And what that is where, when you're swinging the whole body around like this, on the excavator, because it spins, well, when it stops, if you don't have the cushion valve, it's an abrupt, hard stop, and it causes things to break over time. I mean, like, it might last a year like that, but the more you use it and the more hard stops it gets, the more chance you're going to break something. So I'm putting in a cushion. See, these cheap excavators, they don't come with all this stuff. They don't come with an oil cooler. They don't come with a filter. They don't come with this cushion valve. But if you put those things in there, and they're not that expensive, I mean, I maybe got a couple of $100 tied up in them, then it works kind of like a real machine. It doesn't give you the problems, for down the road. And so you got to have hoses to fit all that stuff. Trust me, the hoses that come with it aren't going to fit the parts that I bought. They're not going to. They're different sizes, different shapes. Yeah, that's the hard part. It's really hard to do this. I'm not kidding you. You probably can't even estimate how difficult this job is going to be. And then the more complicating factor is, first of all, if you know the names of all the fittings, if you happen to know that, which I don't, like there's JIC and there's, I don't know, just every acronym under the sun, they've got all these different kinds of fittings. There's English, and there's SAE, and there's, I don't know, there's a million different kinds, first of all. Then you got the foreign stuff complicating it, the metric threads versus the SAE threads, the different kinds of ends on them where they tape, some of them taper, some of them don't, some of them are blunt, some of them take O-rings. You got no idea. It's just a nightmare. It's a flippin' nightmare. It's really what it is. But if you could get past that, it's a piece of cake to put it together. Putting it together is nothing to it. I could do it in my sleep. It's figuring all of that out is the problem. And it ain't easy. Let's see. David Tharp. I tried finger painting for the first time yesterday. I don't know where this one's going, but this could get ugly. Wished I hadn't. It took me 9 hours just to do the baseboards. Okay, I'm glad you went that direction. Kim Williford. Good afternoon, Jerry. I'm so glad to be with everyone today. I moved from Georgia to Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, I'm glad you're here too, Kim. Thanks for joining in, and hope you enjoy Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope you're not a gambler, because if you are, that's a really dangerous place to be. Let's see. Blue Magic says, what's Caleb up to? Just thought about him. Well, I haven't talked to him. He's not real talkative. It's not that we're on, difficult terms or anything. It's just that he's not going to reach out, and I'm not the kind of guy to reach out either. I mean, I really am not. I'm just a keep it to yourself kind of guy. So, we're very cordial and very friendly. It's just that, neither one of us are the kind of person that reaches out, So chances of us really talking are pretty slim. Don Nice. Jerry, by the way, I like your green shirt. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. And it says Turkey Bowl on there, MVP. And, if you remember, Thanksgiving before last, we had a family football game, and I was the MVP. I was the one that scored the very first touchdown. It really caught everybody off guard because they didn't think I could run like that and dodge all the tackles and stuff. Dottie Hildebrandt, thank you, Kim. I take all the prayers I can. Yep. Okay, let's see. And then Simon says, how do you tell the two steels apart? Okay, stainless actually says stainless on the blades over here. Yeah, most always stainless is stamped as stainless steel. Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to think of how else could you tell it apart. Well, there's different kinds of tests, but most of them are fairly technical, like there's spark tests and stuff. And unless you know a lot about watching sparks on the grinder, and I don't consider myself an expert on that either, though I definitely do see different kinds of sparks on different kinds of metal, but I don't necessarily think I'm the guy that can explain all that to you. But I would say the quickest way I can tell, and I mean, this it's going to sound stupid in a way, is just by sharpening the knife and using the knife, I can tell if it's stainless steel or if it's a real steel. Stainless steel just does not hold an edge, period. It just doesn't. Ronald Todd, sounds like a great idea making the upgrades to the Minions. Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm really only upgrading, for the most part, I'm only upgrading the Excavator. The mini skid steer, I did upgrade it by putting in new bearings and things, but that one was pretty much you have to do that because those old bearings already wore out. It's crazy. And they're only a year old. I'm hoping that the new bearings I put in that mini skid steer will last pretty much forever, I would think, because they're all U.S. made and solid, good quality bearings. Let's see. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, please be careful with the pain pills. Yeah, well, I am. Trust me, I'm not a guy that overdoes it. I wait till the last. In fact, it says you can take one every 6 hours. I've been taking them about every 12 hours. Taking one, and I'm not mixing them or anything like that. Trust me, I'm not a person that's going to get hooked on drugs. There's not a chance. It couldn't happen. I don't care how addicting that drug is. I'm not going to get hooked on it. You can just call that stubbornness or meanness or whatever you want to call it, but I'm not getting hooked on nothing. That's a fact. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, I was just wondering, did your doctor mention breaking the stone up. No, he's fairly confident it's going to pass because it's 4 millimeters. He says you can pass them up to 7 millimeters. He says, but there's like once they get up to 7 millimeters, I think it's only a 10% chance it's going to pass. At 4 millimeters, he gave percentages on all this. I forgot what he said though. I'm going to say roughly a 50-50 chance on a 4 millimeter. But he feels like this one's going to pass because it's only a ½ inch from getting into the bladder already. It might have been better than that. It might have been a 70% chance. And then in between there, I think it was a 50% chance or something like that. So he's pretty sure I'm going to pass this one without any trouble. Kim Williford, no, Jerry, I'm no gambler. I'm loving Vegas for the different reasons. Yeah, well, the climate's probably really nice, I would think. Although I think it can get super hot, but it's dry. Let's see, moving on down. Oh, Kim, actually, I didn't really think you were a gambler. That really didn't even cross my mind that you would be, but I just said that to be silly, I think. David Tharp, fun fact, sugar is the only word in the English language where SU is pronounced SH. At least I'm pretty sure. You're a jerk, David. You're a jerk. That's funny. Okay, let's see. G&P Old Marine Shop. Hi, Jerry. This knife talk reminds me Rodney Dangerfield again. He lived in tough neighborhood. Guy held him up with a knife. He knew it wasn't professional. The knife had butter on it. Let's see. Lindenbaum, stainless is not attracted to a magnet. There you go. That's a good point. Although, yeah, I think I can correct you there and say that there is a type of stainless that does attract to a magnet. It's rare. I mean, it's not your normal stainless. But yeah, you're right. The stainless doesn't attract to a magnet typically. Kim Williford to David Thorpe. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Let's see. Simon says, thanks. I'll carry a small magnet on my next charity shop trowel. Yeah, anyway, regarding the knife thing, and I know I keep beating this to death, but it's just that you guys should know by now that I'm kind of picky on certain things. Kind of like, like with the instruments with a certain kind of glue and a certain kind of way to do certain things, I'm a little bit on the picky side. Well, when it comes to a tool, I'm very picky. If the tool don't work, the tool goes in the recycle bin, trash can, someplace like that. As far as I'm concerned, most all stainless steel knives go in the trash can. That's just my opinion. If I've got to use it, it ain't going to be a stainless steel knife. It's just black and white into the discussion. That's just the way it is. Brad Tomatek, my brilliant idea is a fork with one of the cutter tines sharpened like a knife. I'd call it a nork. Probably get sued for mouth cuts. Yeah, that you got to be real careful about that. Dottie says, no, not you being picky. Well, when it comes to certain things, I am. Conversely, on a lot of things, I could give a rip. I just don't care at all. Like, again, on a car, clothing, style, fashion, I could give a rip. I couldn't care less. But on certain things, I'm incredibly picky. But it just depends on what's important to you, and obviously there's some things that are important and other things that are not important. Kim Williford, Jerry, how do you deal with a guitarist who is tone deaf? Tell him he's Beethoven. Yeah, There you go. It seemed like there was the tone deaf thing makes me think, I've told this story before. I'm sure I have on the channel, but the tone deaf reminds me of a story. We were at an indoor bluegrass festival in Eureka, Missouri, one that I had gone to for years and years, and my dobro playing friend, Josh Poor, which I don't think none of you have ever met him. Anyway, he used to go down to Mountain View with me quite often, and he and I would get a jam going because he was really good on the dobro, and I was reasonable on the mandolin and, the vocals and stuff, and he could also sing pretty well, Josh could. And anyway, we'd end up with a jam. We'd sit down together, and before long, there'd be a whole jam going on in the hallway. Well, that's what happened this time in Eureka. And we had a good group of musicians. They were all pretty good, pretty tight. Don't remember who all was there. I just remember Josh and myself at the moment. I do think Renee was there on the bass. Renee, Emery's mother, if you remember. I think she was there on the bass. So it was a pretty tight jam session, and we were just going along. Well, all at once, this drunk chick walks up. I mean, this gal, it was obvious she was drunk. There was no question about it. She was just more or less staggering down the hall, and she slurring her words and everything. She says, "Oh man, I've been all over this place. You guys are the best. You're the very best. I mean, we've been everywhere and heard everybody playing, but you guys are the best." She just kept going on about how good we were, when we sang another song or two, and "Oh man, you guys are incredible." And I said, "Well, would you like to sing one with us?" She goes, "Oh no, man, I'm tone deaf." So there you go. High praise from somebody who is tone deaf. Anyway, you had to be there. David Tharp, Beethoven was so deaf he thought he was painting. Well, that's like me. I'm so colorblind I can't even read the word purple. Anyway, you guys, I want to say thank you for being here. I guess I ought to get busy and get rid of that package for Cometa Systems, take that into town and all that good stuff. And if I feel like it, get out there and do some more stuff in the shop, or maybe work on my next video. I do have another video started. It's a 4 hours of raw video. I think I've got 15, maybe 20 minutes of actual video edited so far. And of course, when you do that, you're shrinking down the length of it. I think it says there's 3 hours, and the total thing right now is 3 hours and 44 minutes, with only the first 15 of that being edited. So I've got to go through a lot yet to go, over 3 hours yet to go, I think. Before it just takes forever, and I've been editing on that for a long time already. And it's about rebuilding that Honda Recon 250, putting a whole new head on it, the cylinder head, new piston, all that stuff. So I rebuilt the motor, basically is what I did. I just didn't rebuild the bottom end down where the crank is and all that. But anyway, that's the name of that tune. Let's see. Boharn says, "Hey, Jerry, I have a vacation trip planned for late August. Hope to have a visit while we're up there." Well, you're sure welcome to come by, Bo. And if you happen to be bringing your camper, we can hook you up here on the farm for a day or two if you want. I can only give you electric, and I can probably give you water, but that's about it. I can't really give you a sewer line or anything like that. But if you're interested, you're always welcome. Let's see. Osir says, "What happened with the knife sharpness competition?" Well, it was obvious after day 2. It was just obvious because day 2, the stainless steel one was barely cutting through the package. I mean, it wasn't even cutting through it really at all. And the other knife, the one I made, cut right through it like butter, and it's still cutting through the package like butter to this day. So I just gave up on the contest because it was obvious on the second day. Don Nice says, I'm ready for music. Well, let's see here. Today is Wednesday, right? Yeah. And so tomorrow evening, we'll get back with something on the music thing. Well, guys, I'm going to let that be it. Thank you for being here. We will see you tomorrow with something else.